As we talk about what's still left in the NFL, we've got to rewind on what we saw earlier this week in the college game. We got a national champion. It is LSU. Cedric, we talked a lot about the playoffs, the last couple weeks, the magnitude of these matchups. We thought we'd see a good one in the national championship game, and it was a pretty quality game. Now, LSU kind of built that lead and ran away and hid a little bit late in the game, but this was the type of game we expected. Was there any surprise in your mind with what you saw LSU Clemson on Monday night?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Trevor Lawrence just never settled in.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, he was airmailing a lot of throws.
Yeah.
Something that we haven't seen from him since he's been a college quarterback, and just not able to sustain drives when it mattered most. When they fell behind there in the third quarter, that effectively took ATN, the fine running back, out of the game, and it put it on the shoulders of Trevor Lawrence, who just wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow was as good as advertised. Jen, he's been the best player from the first game to the last game.
Yeah.
And that is an all-time great season by LSU. The question is, can Coach O keep it going with stars like Edwards-Helaire, the running back, leaving, Grant Delpit leaving, guys like that, and of course the Heisman Trophy winner, Joe Burrow leaving. You want to hear what's going to be really rough for Joe Burrow? He's going from Bayou Bengal to Cincinnati Bengal. Enjoy the party while it lasts, young man. It's about to get tough.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I think people in Cincinnati are ready to welcome Joe Burrow for good reason. I mean, right out of the gate on that national championship game, the first pass he throws of the game ends up being a no play because they had an illegal man downfield. But it was the type of throw, it was the type of moving in the pocket that, to me, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you put that play on and you say, tell me why we shouldn't draft this guy. I mean,
he's a Bengal.
Deep in his own end zone, could have gotten sacked, could have got a safety. I mean, Clemson could have almost scored before the game really gets started. So a gutsy play, but then an accurate play. Yeah, it's going to be hard for the Bengals to walk away from drafting Joe Burrow. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to pick Joe Burrow and try to rebuild on his shoulders. They're good shoulders to build on. But, it was a historic season by Burrow. It was a fantastic season by LSU. And, Cedric, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are debating, was this potentially the greatest season in college football history? I mean, you saw the great Texas Longhorn team led by Vince Young. I've seen some great teams here in Oklahoma. But how does this one stack up? I mean, they went undefeated through the SEC and then just double-digit wins in the playoffs. That's the type of thing that if you're saying best ever, that holds some water right there.
It does for me, and having covered the Longhorns during the Vince Young 30-2 era, very similar. There are like 30. Texas had like 30 guys from those two teams that ended up in the league. I mean, that's just an unbelievable amount of NFL talent. Guys like Brian Orakpo. Brian Orakpo was the third string defensive end on that team, and he's just played 12 years in the NFL. So there are just some wonderful, wonderful players from that era. Texas averaged 50 points a game that year, and they were just magnificent. And Vince Young, as it turns out, was the best player in America, even though he didn't get the Heisman. So a lot of similarities, a lot of parallels. I just love the star power on both teams. Now, speaking of star power, before we get out of here, we got to talk about Odell Beckham.
Oh, man.
On the sideline, handing out cash. Come on. What's he doing, Jen?
Well, and that was an interesting, obviously a few days after, side note, as video surfaces, picture surface of the LSU alum looking to hand out dollar bills. Now, for a while, maybe a day or so, there was talk that, well, it's just fake. It was just monopoly money. But Cedric, now LSU is saying he may have handed out actual cash. Yeah, no kidding. What's going on here, my friend?
Just a dummy. And Joe Burrow went on a podcast and said it was real money.
Yeah.
It was real money. You know what, though? And for people out there that think, Odell's trying to hook the players up. No, put down the pipe. He's not. This is what this was about, Jen. Odell Beckham hasn't been relevant since his next to last season with the New York Giants when they were halfway decent. His last season was injury marred, and then the year after that, his first year with Cleveland was a wash. He hasn't been relevant. If you really, really wanted to hook up your fellow Bayou Bengals, you would have waited until the reporters cleared out, until the coaches cleared out, and then just told somebody, hey, go get Joe Burrow, go get Jefferson, go get Chase, go get Edwards-Helaire, and then meet me in the locker room. Hey, here's a little something for you. No cameras. He did it because he wanted the attention. He's a narcissist. He's an egotist. He did it for all the wrong reasons. And I hope the players don't suffer for this. Yeah. And I hope LSU doesn't suffer. It's not their fault.
Yeah, it really did feel very publicity stunty, which it seemed to be surrounded by the cameras. If you give something to guys who are done with their eligibility, which obviously once that game was over, a guy like Joe Burrow is no longer under those amateur rules that the NCAA has at its disposal. So that's a little bit different. But still, even if you're just handing out money to guys who no longer have eligibility remaining, it just is not a good look, and it's not a good look for him. I mean, you're right, Cedric. LSU, I mean, you can't control the actions of your alums. You would hope that they would be smarter than that, but pretty clearly that may not be Odell's strong suit, is discerning what to do and what not to do. But it's unfortunate, Ted, because it really does sort of detract from this fantastic season that LSU had. And that's the part when you're LSU, you say, hey, we've got these notable guys out in the league, obviously a lot of them in the NFL, and they carry that LSU brand, so you want to have that benefit. But stuff like this, instead of, people debating, was this the best season ever in college football? Instead, there's some time diverted to what's going on with Odell Beckham. Did he give money to guys that he shouldn't have? Is it an NCAA infraction? To me, it takes some of that spotlight, again, what you said, off the guys on the field and puts it right back on a guy who hasn't played in a championship level game in a really long time.
Exactly. And guess what? Instead of talking about Joe Burrow and the great season that LSU had, Coach O, we're talking about Odell Beckham, and that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah, crazy stuff.